When people say to me, why don't you outsource your marketing? I'm like, that's the last thing I'm letting go of. Like, I'm probably never letting that go because it's so easy for me to do it. But it gets to be simple is in marketing would be the thing that I'd love to give to your audience. If you're trying to do a 10-step funnel, blah, 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 like stop it. Just like show up, be useful before people pay you, and then show people how they can pay you to get even more value. Like that's it broken down in a nutshell.
So this is the Stronger Business Together podcast, where business owners learn from other business owners. No theory, no guru, just real journeys and overcoming real hurdles. Today, I'm joined by Helen Tebay, who runs The Sales Lady. And like every owner, she's in that middle of building something, fixing something, and growing something that really matters to her. So, welcome, Helen.
Hi, Granger. Thank you so much for inviting me to the podcast. Hello, everyone.
You're most welcome. So let's do Act 1, your business. So in plain English, what does your business do?
Yeah, so my business is service-based. I help other service-based business owners to essentially like sell and market themselves in the best way for them so that they can get three major outcomes. The first one is more consistent revenue. The second one is to do that in a way that plays to their strengths and that creates that balance of what they want for their business. If they want to work 3-day weeks, 4-day weeks, just school hours, we can make it work. And the other is to create the result in a repeatable way. So we don't just get one spike in a month and we think that's great, I've made a 10K month, but I don't know how to do it again. So there's an element of them feeling able to replicate, repeat, and that brings the control for them. So ultimately, we help business owners to make the revenue goals that they want, but to do it in a sustainable way for them and a way that they enjoy and to do it over and over again.
Fantastic. Yes, we all want that as business owners, don't we just? So who do you love helping then? You talked about service-based industries, but who do you love helping and what are they typically dealing with?
Yeah, sure. So I didn't really mean to get this as a niche. And I think sometimes people really try and force a niche down. And I'm a big believer the niche will just find you. So my background is pharmaceuticals and engineering and manufacturing. So naturally I started off there. And I do help a couple of business owners in that arena, but they tend to be more service-based online. So coaches, consultants, experts, specialists, generally people, HR consultants, L&D trainers, anybody that's got like a techie, financial, they've got a skill, a specialism. And their main stress that they have is they haven't worked out yet how to sell and market that specialism. I see business owners that are very stuck and it's very natural. I went through this as well. We get stuck in this is what I want to say. This is what I do. And people who are buying they need to hear and see different things from you. We haven't quite learned how to translate that offer into something that's valuable, that people understand, that feels doable and easy. We don't think about things from like the receiver point of view. It's very normal for our brains to do that, by the way. But that's what we do. And then we're like, yeah, it feels like no one wants it, or I need a bigger audience, or, LinkedIn doesn't work for me, networking doesn't work for me. And we come up with all these reasons why we don't have what we want, but actually we've got everything that we kind of need. Most people I speak to have an audience, they have an offer, they just haven't done the work to get really certain on it. And it's that certainty that I think your buyers are wanting to feel from you, and you haven't quite done that work yourself. So when you get into conversations, sales calls, we've got massive issues about feeling salesy, looking salesy, don't want to be that pushy salesperson. And we have a little bit of confusion in our offer and how it all works. We're not very certain on it either. So we've got like a couple of things that are scuppering us. And so, of course, it's easy to then go out and think, I'll just get a new strategy. I need an email list, or I know what I'm going to do, similar to what you and I do. We'll do a podcast, and we rinse and repeat, and it doesn't work. So it's because we're fixing the wrong problems. I see people trying to solve the wrong problem in like the hardest way as well. So it's like a double
Yeah.
whammy for us. It's hard.
Yes, very true, very
Yeah.
true. Wow, fantastic. Yeah, no, I really understand that difficulty that we have to break through those difficult problems. But
Yeah.
actually, we've got all those capabilities. We've got that. We just don't see how to bring that to bear and actually make it successful for us. So brilliant. So tell me, how did your business start? What was that original spark?
Yeah. I think I just thought if I was working so hard for these other companies, that maybe if I worked that hard for myself, I could create something more than what like a salaried wage would be, and I could create more impact in the world. I was actually so tired of hearing people disengage with sales when I'd kind of found this groove of selling in a really fun way and a way that felt very natural. I was like, what are they seeing? What are they doing? What are they thinking about selling that, I must think something different here because it's not the same experience for me. And I see so many people in the world have these amazing skills and knowledge that they've honed for years and decades, and they really just were struggling to sell. And then I was in a corporate sales role, and it's not like I wasn't valued, I was, but it just wasn't ticking the boxes anymore. I think I really wanted to go and create something that was not someone else's vision, it was mine. And so kind of just married the two together and thought, well, if I was going to do something, what would I do? And I'm thinking, well, if more people can sell and feel really good about it, um, I mean, what does that open up in the world for, more businesses, more people in commerce, more sales equal, if you just look at it like that, it just absolutely, like keeps compounding out. And so I thought, well, let's give it a go. And so I handed my notice in, and there we go. And that's it.
Excellent. So how long have you been going and what does the business look like today in size and shape?
Yeah, sure. So, I think it's year 5 now. Yeah, year 5, and it looks very similar in terms of structure, but it feels like everything's changed because it has. So it is me predominantly, but what I have learned along the way is that there's other people that are better skilled at things, and relinquishing that control before you need to is probably better. I needed to delegate things out way sooner than what I did. I thought keeping it with me was best. And actually, when I see some of the amazing skill sets that my like VA has, my videographer, the person who helps me with all my visuals and things, I'm like, they're way better skilled than me. So I should have hired them sooner. So I haven't got people on the payroll, but there are people that I have contracted to help and support. So I see it as like we have a little mini team here at the Sales Lady, but essentially it's still me making the decisions with the vision. And we sometimes have team meetings and things like that. So that's exciting. But yeah, it's me with my biggest goal driving that forward to get as many people as I can in my lifetime and my legacy to see something different in selling. And I'm aiming for 1 million people. So pleased that your
Wow.
audience is part of that. So hopefully
Fantastic.
they'll hear something today that shifts for them. So yeah,
No,
I'm busy marketing that, putting that out there. That's, and helping and coaching. So that I'm delivering and marketing. I'd say that's my 2 things. And I got people to help with the other stuff. Whereas when I started, it was me learning how to do everything. So we've traded.
which is often where we start anyway as
Yeah.
small business owners. We learn that, but absolutely you learn quickly to outsource those key skills that people to experts to do that. And I love that you're outsourcing those, but you're still treating as a team, and that's really important. That's how you keep that real knowledge of structure that helps you achieve what you want to do. If you just purely outsource, then actually you're going to lose some of that control. So fantastic. Really, really like that. And that really does work. So what, so why do customers pick you? How do you delight them?
Oh, what a great question. Oh my God, how do they pick me and how do I delight them? Oh my goodness. What a question. How do they pick me? Well, when I think back to some of the people who've throughout the start and during and where we are now, if we take like a cross section, I think the thing that comes up is that they were like, you sounded different when it came to selling. A lot of people out there are like tactical. We have this whole like hustle bro marketing like era that we've come out of. Don't really subscribe to that. I am very much for me, sales, when people truly value selling, you want to spend time doing that and making offers and helping people and being valuable. And sales is the utmost value that's how people get access to that. So I think it's that they hear and see that and they experience it, and I give a lot to my network. So I think they were like, you just look and sound different, and you very, whether I meet you in person or whether I do a webinar with you or whether we're on a podcast, people tend to come and say that was so good from a, it sounded, it landed, it was simple, it was doable, you broke it down in a way that no one's ever made it feel like that before. When I coach, I think and I know myself, in the start of my coaching career, there's some questions now that I wouldn't have gone there before because I was too scared to ask them, because what it opened up, I didn't feel like comfortable as a coach to deal with that. Now it's like, I'm just going to ask the questions and just trust that my brain will help me. There is a pathway, there is a pattern, there is a methodology to get the customer to where they need to be. So we ask the questions that a lot of people say, I've had coaches before, but no one's ever kind of coached like you. And so I think that oozes out in the marketing and everything that I do. And so people are like, this sounds really doable. This sounds like I could take this and use it. I haven't even paid her yet. This is amazing. She's already, like, I've had people come to my webinars and then tell me, you've kind of fixed partially my sales issue, in one webinar. And I'm like, imagine what we would do if we worked together, And so I think it's that experience, what they get when they engage with me is different from the off, and then carries on throughout when we coach. So I think, how do I delight people is we get to the nub. So yes, we'll do the sales strategy stuff. That's what people tend to come in wanting. But I know we have to shift certain identities. One of the things that is a belief killer of sales is like, I don't want to be too salesy. I don't want to come across like that salesy, pushy car salesman person. That'll kill the business like dead, because you won't want to sell, you won't want to make offers, you won't want to spend time selling, you don't value it enough yet. So that's what's different. I think we get it to the identity belief level, and then we do the strategy stuff as well.
Wow, that's some really in-depth thinking there. Fantastic. Well, if without mentioning any names, give us a customer success that you're really proud of.
Yeah, so one of the recent ones that we've had is a gentleman that was in the finance sector, and he was a really accomplished business owner, like multi six figures, but he wanted to reach the next goal. I think it was 350K or half a million. I can't remember. It was like there was another revenue goal that he wanted to get to, and he couldn't get past it. And he built lots of systems and processes in his business. He, like I say, really accomplished business owner, but he started to just creep in and spend more time with the thoughts that stopped him from making offers and stopped him from asking his clients to make decisions. So he was having nice chats, but they weren't going anywhere. And I was like, where did this creep in? And he was like, I don't really know, but it's just, I'm afraid to get no's, because this has been exasperated because he had the aspiration to get a new revenue goal. So if we start offering more, and putting more offers out and having more conversations and it doesn't work, it's just safer to stay where we are. And so that's what was happening. And we had a look at his identity around asking people to decide and asking people to make decisions. He thought it was really pushy. And actually, we shifted that, and he saw that when people come in to get help, that's what they need. They need the offer of help. And the moment when they decide to get the help is when they get the help. It's when everything changes for them. And they're the one with the problem with all the symptoms. He doesn't have the problem, he has the solution, but you forget what it's like when you're not the one like deep in the sort of symptomatic feeling of that problem. And so we got him to think of it from his client's point of view, his potential buyer's point of view, of like, you come into this, you get what you need. And then he's like, well, I'll just email you and, you go off and have a think about it. And they don't want to think about it. They want to buy, but we can't, we're pushing them away. So he saw these like little crafty little patterns that just feel really reasonable and normal. And like, it felt like we were being in service, but actually we were not. The highest service is making an offer to someone to get them out of out of the situation that they're in. So just weren't doing the most valuable thing. And so we had to reset his thoughts about selling, and then we got some strategy. We did a little bit of marketing work. He wanted to release an email list and a newsletter, and he's gone from, I can't even remember the figures, but it was like 40% more. So we did the new goal and some. So he was
Brilliant.
delighted. So from a financial point of view, but I think the biggest win for him was the whole, like, yes, the money's there, but I know how to create it. I know what stopped it, so I can be on to myself before. We had processes, frameworks, structures, techniques that he can't like unlearn them. So we
Yes.
fixed it from the identity point of view first, which makes it a stronger, more robust solution.
Yeah, some of the stuff that I've learned to understand about sales as we're moving forwards in my business is that actually we're there to help somebody make a decision.
Yeah.
Do they want that problem solved or do they not? Yes or no? Not a, oh, maybe can I get back to you? It's like, well, is this real? Do you want to make this happen?
Yeah.
Or actually, no, you're not interested at this moment in time. Fantastic. I'm not going to disturb you anymore. That's the purpose, is to make a decision. So yeah, fantastic. I love that. Love that example. Thank you so much for sharing. So let's move on to Act Two now, the journey of your business. Over the last 5 years, the business has highs and lows. What have you learned about your business?
Oh God. Yeah. What have I learned? How long have we got? I think the one or two things that strike me is how much time we waste waiting for things, waiting for conditions to change instead of creating the conditions. Waiting for I had the same thoughts. I was like, oh, I'll have to like get a completely new audience. All my audience is pharmaceuticals and engineering and manufacturing, and I actually want to target service-based people. It's going to take ages. And actually, my very first gig came from a referral from someone that I knew who was in the engineering sector. So it wasn't true, but I was definitely telling myself, you can't get XYZ money or success or whatever it is. Like, you can't create this until this changes. I think when you really see that you have everything you need around you, you don't need a bigger audience. Go and get the people in your audience to go and bring the people to you. Like, you don't have to wait. But when we're like waiting, I feel like we've shifted over into the passenger seat or the back seat, and we're waiting for this unspecified change or someone to come and do something or something miraculously out there to change for us. It doesn't happen, because you could get the audience, but then you have to learn how to activate them, or then you have to learn how to sell your services, and then you have to learn how to deliver on them. So there's still going to be things for you to, you're never going to get away from the thing that you're just kicking it down the line. So I think the waiting, how much time do we wait for things to be different instead of creating those conditions ourselves and using our brain? That was like the biggest thing ever, for me. Once I saw that, like, time collapsed. I got the results way faster because I didn't wait for anything to change. I was like, no, I'm the thing that has to change. I have to change what I'm thinking, or change if this feels awkward or weird. Why? Let's examine it. Let's have a look at what's going on. And we change the thought, and that allows the behavior to change. You don't need anything new for that.
Right.
So that's probably
And
the
that's
biggest.
something you discovered yourself through your journey. Is that recent? Is that, you talked about it being going for 5 years? When was the sort of moment of realization that changed then the trajectory of your business?
Yeah, so I would say I've had life coaching before. That's actually what brought the idea of running my own business out. And I actually thought I was a little depressed, or like something was going on, or, and actually what was happening was I was trying to break out of the container of employment and just didn't know what to do with that. So that accelerated that. And when I saw how fast that happened, because I gave myself 2 years, and I actually did it in about 3 months. So, that's the power of good coaching with people who are ready to receive that and ready to change. So I'd already had that experience of coaching, and I was like, I wonder if I need someone to help me with the business then. And I didn't really know how extensive business coaching was at that point, because I was completely new to business. And obviously there's a business coach for everything, with all the different niches and everything you can there's so much variety out there. And I actually stumbled upon a coach who has a sales and marketing kind of flavor to her and did the mindset work. And I was like, my God, I feel like all my dreams have come true. This is amazing. And I remember following her for like 2 weeks. I absorbed everything. I like binged on all her stuff that she had available. She showed up every single day. She dropped the value. I absorbed it. And I was just like, how do I work with you? And I remember borrowing the money from my mum and dad because I didn't have the collateral at that point to invest, but I knew it would, like I'd had that previous experience of life coaching. I knew it would collapse time, and it did. And I made my first 6 figures within the first year. It was actually, I messed around probably for 6 months. So it was actually within the back 6 months of year one, we'd made 6 figures. So that's the power of it. So because I'd had that experience, I was like, let's get that in the business. It's not just for life coaching, it's for there's business out there as well. So I think seeing that and being coached myself, a lot of people are quite surprised. They're like, why do you have a business coach? Why do you have a sales coach? And I'm like, because I need that. I'm trying to upskill all the time so I can pass it down to you guys. I think sometimes we have that thought, like, I've got to know everything. I can't be seen to, depends what you think reaching out for help is, if it's a weakness or a strength. I always see it as a strength. Where's my gaps and how do I close them? Just either I
Mm,
buy the expertise or I make my brain more valuable. Like, which one is it that I'm
yeah.
doing? You can't like buy the expertise out of this. If you've got a sales and marketing problem, you could hire like someone to do your marketing for you, but they're going to ask you the questions that you're not answering yourself. So you can't circumnavigate it. You've got to do the internal work first. So it was my own experience really from life coaching. I just thought,
Fantastic. Yes, I totally agree. I think as a business owner, you can outsource activities, absolutely, but you can't outsource the responsibility of it. And one of the
yes.
biggest things you have to understand as a business owner is how to do marketing and how to do selling. And those are things that you can learn either through coaching online, whatever it is, or just real 1,000-hour practices of doing that. But you have to understand that. Then the activity of it, yes, you can outsource the doing of it, but you own that responsibility to
Mm-mm.
understand that. So what I think is lovely in your answer is that realization you did, and you went then to find that learning through other coaches, which you've then brought to your business,
Yeah.
taking your business forwards as well as yourself forwards. Fantastic. Now, we believe in Stronger Business Together that one of the key things in the business is to simplify everything that you do.
Love
Make
it.
your business life simpler.
Yes.
So maybe give us something that you've done, maybe something you've stopped doing that's made things simpler for yourself.
So that's my philosophy is it gets to be simple. I'd say that's what I coach and train out a lot. You know, people will come and be like, yeah, it needs to be a 10-step like marketing funnel, blah, blah, blah. Like, why don't you just show up and be really helpful and then tell people how they get more help? And I think that's the thing I did with my marketing. I dread to think, Granger, how many hours, days, weeks, months I have spent trying to crack the marketing silver bullet, you know, like the code. And I'm like, what if it was simple? Apply your same logic, Helen. It gets to be simple. What's the most simple thing you can do? I want to show up every day. Decide how you want people to experience you. Like whether they see a LinkedIn post or an email or you in person, what do you want them to leave with? And I always want people to feel like that feels better. Oh, that's so much easier to think of it that way. And then to have something to go in action. So that's what I did. I just showed up every day and I was like, what if it gets to be really simple? If I just, it might take me an hour now to like put together a LinkedIn post. Now, in this moment, today, 5 years later, it probably takes me about 10 minutes. There are posts where I do like just think about it a bit more, but that habit of showing up and giving without asking for anything and just showing people how they get that next step and that next most valuable thing, it just gets to be so simple. But we like, no, we need a 10-step funnel and I need to like buy software. And like, if you're not making consistent money to 5, 10, 15K, like that's not for you. That's to solve a different problem. When you know how to do it, you have to kind of do it manually first before you can like automate it or scale it. Because otherwise you automate or scale the bottlenecks and the problems, like bring them to you. And you really don't have anybody coming. You didn't have anyone coming to you before, and now you really don't have anyone coming to you, and you've just next start. So I think that it gets to be simple with the marketing was my first realization. I remember about a year in going, why am I doing it this way? Like, what if it was just so much easier and simpler? And I engaged with it more. I connected with it more. I thought for my client more. I put myself in their brain. I just spent more time there. And I'm like, it was a little hard at first to do it because, again, your brain just naturally goes to what you want to say and what you're thinking. Your client doesn't care what you're thinking. They care what they're thinking, and they care that you know what they're thinking. So as soon as I flipped that, I was like, my God, this is so much fun. And so when people say to me, why don't you
Fantastic.
outsource your marketing? I'm like, that's the last thing I'm letting go of. Like I'm
Yes.
probably never letting that go because it's so easy for me to do it. But it
Yes.
gets to be
No.
simple is in marketing would be the thing that I'd love to give to your audience. If you're trying to do a 10-step funnel, blah, 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 like stop it. Just like show up, be useful before people pay you, and then show people how they can pay you to get even more value. Like that's it broken down in a nutshell.
Fantastic. I love that. And you know, one of the marketeers that are social media marketeers that I follow, Gary Vaynerchuk, you know, he
Mm,
still writes 10 posts a day. You know, he still is, even though he's running a massive business with, I don't
yeah,
know what it is now, 3,000 people or something. I can't remember what it is. You know, he's just huge all around the world, etc., etc. He's still writing, but because he said, I have to, it's always changing. It's always
yeah.
updating. And
I
I've got to keep experimenting to keep my
yeah.
team experimenting because they copy what I do. So, yeah, fantastic. I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah, simplification by showing up will then make you simplify that way of doing it. Fantastic. Right. Let's move on to Act 3 now, the hurdle.
Okay.
So what have we picked as our hurdle question for today?
Yeah, so I think the question that I get asked is various different, it might sound slightly different, but the ultimate crux of it is how do I sell without looking salesy? Like what's too much like salesiness? Don't want to look
Yeah.
salesy and pushy. How do I sell without feeling that or looking like that is kind of the question.
Yeah, brilliant. Yes. And they're probably worried that they're losing opportunities of sales because of that
Yeah, I don't
that's
want to
taking
look too
place.
salesy and then I'll
Yeah,
lose the sale, basically. Yeah.
brilliant. So let's keep in mind somebody, a client, a person that we'll talk about, because it's easier to focus on a situation rather than a generalization. So with this person you've got in mind, what's their current condition? What's going on today in their sales process that's maybe making them feel like they're too salesy?
Yeah. So there's a couple of people in my group program, the Sales Refresh, that have actually brought this to me today. So I'll use them. I'll keep them front of mind. First of all, it's really common. It's really normal to feel this way because no one's ever taught you any different. You just absorb your selling experience by how you've been sold to and what you've seen and what we've seen in TV and movies and things that, we just think, I don't want to give people a bad experience because then they'll think something badly of me and then they won't buy. So that's the question that got asked in the group was, what's the right amount of sales posts versus value posts to do?
Yeah.
And that tells me straight away, it shows me that you don't value your sales call. You don't see that as being the highest value thing that you could offer anybody right now that's struggling with the problem that you solve for. So this person was is they're still alive. They are a professional in training, so they train out leadership and development. And a lot of people in my group are, like I said, they've got a specialism. They either train it or they coach it. So they were, I want to do more marketing, but I want to do the right amount of marketing to not repel people. As if I'm too salesy, they won't come in and book a call, or I'll repel people basically.
So that's our starting point. We know where we are. Where would we want to get somebody to with the work that we do with them? What would excellent look like when we got them there?
Yeah. So I think the best way to describe this is You value sales so much that you want to spend more time with it. You're not trying to get away with the least amount of times that we need to show up and sell or ask people to book a call. You don't ask questions like, say you're doing, a lot of my clients will do webinars and masterclasses and they're like, oh God, I've got to sell at the end. And like, oh, it's cringe and no one wants it. And I see everyone dropping off and like, they will change their vantage point to, this is the point that some people on this call will be waiting for. This will be the point where this is the most highest value that I could give to anyone, which is like showing them the pathway of how they get change. So we actually have a formula in the sales refresh that I teach people when they want to do any kind of teaching or any kind of um I don't know, talk or anything like that. We can just shrivel up like a little prune at the end and be like, well, if you want anything, I'll be in the corner because I don't want to look too salesy and like not or we can really give people some of you might want to take the next step with me. This is what it looks like and this is what happens when you do, and here's how we get you the change, and this is what the formula looks like, and when you do that you get this result. Some people are just like that, they're hanging on the end because that's what they want to hear, and you think, oh God, that's going to repel them. So we don't do it or we dull it down. So we might be selling, for example, at the moment for like 30 seconds or a minute. You might
Yeah.
end up spending 15 minutes talking about how they get access to change and what that pathway would look like because you value it. So you want to spend more
Yeah.
time with it. That's the
Yeah.
ultimate.
Okay. So we know where we want to get them to. So what's typically going on then in their heads, in their process? What's the sort of, I call the root cause that's holding them back?
Yeah, the root cause tends to be they haven't, because they're in the solution mode, they have the solution. They've forgotten what it's like to have the problem. So they see the act of selling. They don't realize it's a valuable exchange of value. They think they're going to take more than what they're going to give, which is likely the experience that we've had. It could be years ago, could be as a small child, could be something that was done to us when we were buying, but something lodged in our brain that this doesn't feel good as an experience. As a buyer or a consumer, I
Mm.
have like got the bum end of the deal here. This feels like this was more for the other person than it was for me. Maybe you didn't actually buy. Maybe it was just the experience. Maybe you bought. It doesn't matter. But the experience of choosing, deciding, and having that person help you fell off. The balance fell off. So you're hypersensitive to not doing that to someone else. What happens with that is they don't get what they came for. They don't hear the thing that's most valuable to them. You don't offer the next step. We dull it down. We are like,
Mm.
"Oh, well, there's no obligation," and like, I'll give the value,
Yeah.
but I'm not gonna tell them how they get the ultimate value because you've just forgotten. You just don't realize how valuable time with you is solving this problem. Even if they say no thanks, thanks for explaining how you do it and the pathway. I want to do it a different way. I don't want to do it. You still sold really well. That's still a really valuable use of time. So we've got to see that. One of the questions that I give my clients and we keep coming back to and keep reminding yourself is, why is it, say your sales call is an hour, why is an hour with you the most valuable thing for that person, even if they didn't go and buy? What would they still gain
Mm.
from it? And same for you as the seller. What would you gain for it? So you don't see it as a complete waste of time. When you can see that, you realize how valuable that moment, that micro moment where they book the call and that moment where they buy is the two most highest value gifts, so to speak, that you can give anyone, because it's when they make a decision and once they decide to buy, they get the access to the help. Remember, they've got the problem. So like they're really
Yeah.
motivated to make it go away. So
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
moment where they decide, oh, I've decided I want to make it go away and I'm going to pay
Yeah.
you because I want to start making that go away. And we think,
Yeah.
oh my God, we're taking more than what we're giving here, so let's dull it down. And there's going to be some people that don't want it. You can offer it generously, and people are like, I don't need a
Yes.
call with you right now. Thanks so much, but it's not for me.
Uh,
You're like, cool,
and
fine.
and not everybody that turns up is there to buy. Not
Yeah,
everybody's there to look for a solution to their problem right now. Maybe they don't appreciate their problem. Maybe they just not interested at this moment. Maybe there are other things going on in their lives and they're not ready for that.
yeah,
So there is always a portion of people, but at least they've made a decision.
yeah,
At least they've made a decision today. I'm not going to buy. That's fantastic. Yeah, but it's those other people that
yeah. I know.
because you've not done what you're talking about, they're now sitting on the fence. They
Yeah,
can't make a decision. They can't decide. They'll say, "Oh, let me go and talk to my partner," or they'll say, "I'll come back to you next week." Actually, they are the people that maybe you have now failed in your approach to make a decision. So yeah, I love what you're saying there. Brilliant. So what would we do to give some ideas of how we would solve this blockage in our experience, our knowledge, our capability to actually get people to that point of making a decision through your sales presentation?
yeah. So with that, I think the first thing we have to do is we have to notice that there's something in you that makes you not want to offer this, whether it's to take the next step to book a call or whether you're asking someone in a conversation to buy or to make a decision. You're having thoughts about selling that make you not want to sell. So the first
Mm,
thing I would suggest you do is get that down on paper. Just write something at the top, anything around like, what my thoughts and feelings about selling, and let it go wild. Like, let your brain go wild, let it all come out. What are your thoughts on selling? Being salesy, being too much, then what happens? Let's get it all out so that we can see it. And then what we want to do is we want to choose some better thoughts. You will see stuff. It'll be different for everyone, but you will see things that you can just see it. And even just reading it on like written down, it'll make you feel something in here that's probably unhelpful. You might feel shame, embarrassment, disappointment, frustration. None of that's going to help you. Your brain's going to want to protect you from feeling that. It thinks that if you're too salesy, something bad's going to happen, And so what we do is we just don't sell at all, which is equally on both sides not great. Because then people don't get access. Having a sales call with you and you making an offer is the only way that people really can buy. So, my thing is like make offers, but you're not going to make offers if you're having really poor quality thoughts about selling. So we've got to get it out on paper first and just see it. And then we choose
yeah.
some better thinking, some thinking that supports us, some thinking that really changes how you feel in here. When I think about sales as like being service, it does change something in me. But when I think, oh my God, selling is where I give the most value, is where people get access to that, that really like in here is like, that does something. It makes me more giddy, excited, hopeful. So we've just got to get some thinking for you that what's the alternative? Because you can choose to think selling is bad and salesy and pushy and I'm pushing things on people that they don't want. Or we could say, this is the opportunity where they get to decide and I'm going to let them decide. I know which one feels, even just saying it there, which one feels like.
Yes.
So we've got to choose some different
Absolutely.
thinking so we can make more
Yeah.
offers. Yeah. So that's
Yes.
the first.
Absolutely. That's beautiful, and that's the real sort of understanding that actually it's not salesy. Is you're helping somebody to make a decision to make a significant change by working with you,
Yeah.
and you then add in that value to them. And if you don't make that offer, then how will they ever get that opportunity to do that? So changing that mindset is what you've been describing, and finding that way of doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we've got that little first experiment to get people thinking and going. What should they do next week then?
Yeah. So I would go out and I would just make offers to people to have conversations. I would start with the people who are in your warmest onion, so to speak, the closest layer, people who've been clients before, people who you worked with, people who know and like you and already trust you a little bit. And I would make sure that they know exactly what it is that you do and see how you can be helpful to each other. Having half an hour together, I can tell you a bit about my business, what I'm looking for, why, and we can do the same with you, and then we can find ways that we can be helpful together. Your next sales, your next clients will come from the people that are already around you. We just seem to want to go out and get, I don't know, 1,000 new people, like flyer them with one cold message, and then we get very disappointed that no one wants our stuff. I'm like, they don't even know who
Yes.
you are. Like, we're starting with the
Yeah.
wrong ballpark. So I would start there. And then the second thing at the same time is have a look at your marketing, because what we want to do is we want to get their attention, and we get their attention by building trust. So how can you build know, like, trust in your marketing? What makes you known is something that's relatable, that resonates. What makes people like you? Well, maybe you help solve their problems a little bit along the way. So maybe you solve a little micro problem for them, and then again, it builds that trust and credibility and that certainty that, hang on, this person seems like someone that could help. That's what happened with when I watched my business coach. And that's what's happened when people have engaged with me. Some of them have just binged on it and gone, oh my God, this is the thing. And what else has she got? And what else? And what else? If I was like, I don't want to be too salesy, I wouldn't have done the what else. They'd just have one thing and then there'd be a gap. And then they'd be like, well, that's great, but what else? Oh, she's not posting anything. I haven't got anything else to consume. So we need to give them something that's valuable, that's helpful. But the second thing we need to do is we need to build the desire to activate them. And that's what activates people, is we've got to float the desire more than the pain that they're in. So, like, how do people get
Yeah.
help? What is your solution? What are the steps that people take? What does that work look like? Why does that work? We've kind of got to build that problem, symptoms,
Yeah.
the solution, the desire. How do they get there? Because if you just talk about your results only, then, and some of you aren't doing that even as a bare minimum, you should we should be doing.
Yes.
So, like, if they just see the result on its own, they
Yeah.
don't know how to get there. So we're missing out a huge chunk. And then, of course, we've got to show them how they get there, which is they have a conversation with you. So we've got to offer that. So let's go and have a look at our marketing. Are we building trust? If someone was to land on your LinkedIn, for example, can they get help? Does the questions they've got resonate somewhere in there? Or are they going to bounce on and off? And then if they hang around a bit more, what are we giving them? Can we solve some problems? Can we give them something that's valuable? And then do we share with them how they get more value? That's what I'd
Yeah.
go. So the
Fantastic.
conversations, and then just a mini audit on your socials, whatever platform that is. That's what I'd go to.
Beautiful. Well, I think we've just had a fantastic little masterclass there, just from this one little question we started off with. That's absolutely fantastic. And what I like about that, within the Stronger Business Together, one of our other principles is growth through challenge. It isn't easy, but actually the answers are out there. So, go find them. Challenge yourself to find those answers. Challenge yourself to start implementing and learning, and make it apply to you. You can't copy other people, but you can learn from them and then start applying that. And that's the real challenge that so many business owners I meet, unfortunately, don't want to go through. They don't want to go through that
Yeah.
hard work of learning. They don't want to go through the hard work of applying, and they don't want to go through all that fail trial, which actually challenge is really about. So thank you, Helen. That was absolutely awesome. So let's do our wrap up and close. What did you hear yourself say today that maybe surprised you?
I think going back, I haven't thought about what business was like at the start. And I look now and there's a massive contrast for the better. But that whole thing that you said about, like, the learning failure cycle, I think I just was really up for that. That makes sense. I think I got on board with it fast. And I think that's the thing. If anyone's listening to this thinking, what is the thing that I should do? Just be prepared to fail really fast, because clean up your relationship with failure, because it's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
it's not, oh, if
Yeah.
it will fail. You have failures every day, every week. So if you can't tolerate it, this is going to be really hard for you. So I think I've just
Yeah.
been reminded of like how fast I went through that. I kind of surprised myself with that.
Fantastic. And finally, how can people get hold of you if they want to follow more of your journey?
Yes, so LinkedIn is probably the best place. I show up there every single day. There's plenty of things to get involved in if you go into my profile, Helen Tebay, the sales lady. There's webinars, there's an email list you can join, there's value that I post every single day, and that you can book a consultation call there as well. That's how you can get that. If you're a bit allergic to LinkedIn, because I know not everyone's on it, you can get the same stuff from the same access through my website, which is helentebay.podia, PODIA.com.
Brilliant. Well, Helen, thank you so much for being open and honest today. I know our listeners will get a huge lot from this conversation. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, Granger, for inviting me and having me. And thank you for everyone who's listening. Thank you.
Thank you for spending your time with us today. We're on a mission to make business owners stronger together. If this conversation's helped you, please comment and follow on whatever platform you're using. About 60% of our audience haven't done that, and these small actions will help us reach more business owners just like you. If you want to join the conversation as a guest, or if you have a hurdle question for us to tackle, reach out to us at info@strongerbusinesstogether.com. Now, go make it a really successful week, and we'll see you next time. Cheers!